What is going on, boys, and welcome back to the channel. Holy crap, it has been a minute. I have not gone that long without uploading in forever. As you guys know, I'm pretty solid. I usually upload once a week, every Sunday, like clockwork. Had a lot of stuff go on with the family, and then we came down with the vid, and we're now just recovering from it. So forgive me if I still sound a little sick. I think it's turned into some sort of sinus infection. I can't hear out of this ear. I'm all congested. It sucks. But tomorrow the Civic goes into fab, and there's a few loose ends that I need to tie up before then that we need to get done right now. Okay, so today, before we get into fab too much, I have to go ahead and take this oil line off. We're gonna find a nicer way to run it. I think I'm gonna run it underneath this engine mount just so it's a little bit more tucked up. The line is a little bit big if you can't tell, but we need to take that oil line off because I need to take this turbo setup off the car so he can drill out this stud. There is a snapped stud in the head that we need to get removed so we can put our titanium Speed Factory Racing studs in there. And I think that's the first thing we're gonna check off the list tomorrow when the car's there. So I need to get this whole turbo manifold pulled off so it can just go in there nice and easily, ready to get that looked at. Another thing, like the radiator might be in the way a little bit of that, so I might want to take that out, but I'll probably leave it because we need to know how much room we're gonna have to make a downpipe. And if you can't tell, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of room. We've speculated about taking this wastegate from here and moving it back, but I just don't know if there's quite enough room for that. This thing might at the end of the day just have to be hood exit. I don't really know yet, but anyways, let's take this manifold off so he can at least get that stud out of there. Another thing that we have to do is get our intercooler piping in order because from the turbo down around into here is two pipes, and he's gonna chop them and weld them together so it's one pipe from the intercooler to the turbo. Just eliminates a coupler and a spot for a boost leak. This one is a little bit too high and needs to get dropped down an inch. It wraps around and goes into this pipe with that coupler right there. So I've got a spare pipe right here, this S pipe that we don't need whatsoever. So he's just gonna lop off however much he needs and then weld it to the other side of that so it extends it down a bit more so it fits. So I just kind of got to get all this stuff and put it in the car. If we can end up making the 3-inch exhaust work, I bought more 2-bolt flanges and a 3-bolt flange so, you know, that we can tie the whole rest of the exhaust up. And today I just got to make sure that everything is inside the car that he needs and everything is prepped and ready to go for him to make his life a bit easier and so that the car doesn't have to stay there, you know, prolonged time. A couple things we got for the exhaust here. We got our boys at Evil Energy. They just sent us out some O2 bungs so we can actually weld in the bung. One thing I have to do that I actually have right now, let me prop you guys up. I just need to make sure that the O2 bung itself that's going to get welded into the exhaust pipe is actually the right thread for the O2 sensor, because how funny would that be? So what do you know? Perfect size. So now that we know that we have the right O2 sensor, we can go ahead, or O2 sensor bung, we can go ahead, put this in the car. Another thing we have to address is the oil pan. I haven't taken this one off, but we're gonna use the B18 one because it's already cleaned and ready to go for the oil pan bung. So here's our bung for our oil pan. It is just a steel bung. This is gonna get welded into the B18 pan, and then we're gonna put the B18 pan on the B16 pan just because I haven't got a chance to take this off and clean it. And our B18 B1 is already clean. A couple other knickknacks. I've got our 2-bolt mounts, 3-inch exhaust, and I've got our 3-bolt mount, 3-inch exhaust. So if we can end up making a downpipe that works, that allow us to run the 3-inch exhaust, I have all the flanges and gaskets for it. If not, it's either coming out the hood or coming out a fender. Who knows? Now that all that's out of the way, let's get this manifold and turbo set up off the car so we can get this stud drilled out tomorrow. Okay boys, well this turbo is a pain in the ass to get off, but the crow's foot is impeccable, man. This is my only saving grace. My only saving grace. And then we're gonna have to figure out a different way to fasten this because this just isn't working for me. Everything's too tight. I'm not a fan, so we're gonna have to find a different way to fasten the turbo on. These nuts and bolts, they're just like, the heads are too big. They get jammed in there. It's a pain in the neck, but I tell you, these crow's feet with a nice little extension, unreal. Well, crow's foot was the way until it wasn't. This turbo manifold is a pain in the fucking ass. Ah, thank God. Turbo's off. And turbo manifold is back off. Ugh. Okay. Now that the turbo manifold's back off, we have access to get that stud that snapped out of there. Then we can put this back on and we can move on with the exhaust at the fabricator and the intercooler piping. For now, let's get the rest of the stuff that we need ready. Almost forgot another crucial part. He's gonna need the flange to make a downpipe to go onto, to bolt onto the turbo. So we've got this as well. All right, now that we've got the turbo hot side and everything all squared away so we can drill out that stud on the exhaust manifold side, it's time to take out the battery because there's gonna be a lot of welding and whatnot going on tomorrow and we don't want anything going on with the battery. So let's go ahead and find whatever Allen key fits and let's take out this battery. Holy fuck. Okay, battery is out. Whew, what a day so far, boys. It feels like you go 10 steps backward to go 1 step forward. All this work and doing all this stuff I could have just left off before the fabricator, I decided to put on, and now I have to take it all apart, which I just did, to go to the fabricator to get the intercooler and exhaust made. And then we gotta put it all back on like we've already done 17 times. I promise this car will be done soon, okay? But now that everything in the engine bay is pretty well taken care of, inside the car we have got the exhaust mid-pipe, we've got the rear S-pipe, turbo, manifold, wastegate, exhaust gasket, turbo gasket. The only thing we're missing is the oil pan off this motor so we can get the bung welded in that. So I don't have to take that one off and clean it, and then we can just swap oil pans. Boys, and there is our oil pan ready for the bung to be welded. Sick. And so on the engine, the oil drain plug is on the back. So it's gonna be sitting like this. And I think it's gonna be best if we blast a hole right there, for the oil drain because it's right below all the gusset or all the baffling and everything. I'm thinking right there is about mint. So I'm just gonna mark it with a paint marker. He's gonna drill it and weld on the bung. And we should be set, boys. As we can see here, I don't know if you guys can quite see that. Oh yeah, you can. These two little indents here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make our drain right above this indent right here. I think that's gonna be money because if you look on the inside, there's no baffle there, it just drops right in. So I'm gonna say right here is gonna be absolute money. Boom, we got our dot. We should be all set for fab, boys. All right, boys, and that about concludes everything I got for you today. We got the car prepped to go into fabrication. Once again, he's gonna be making a downpipe and making our old 3-inch exhaust work all the way through. It's basically just gonna have, I think, just a resonator, so it's gonna be quite freaking loud, but he's making that all work with the exhaust, and then he's making our intercooler piping work and eliminate some couplers, which would be boost leaks at some point as well. So that's all good. We've got the oil pan marked out and pulled off the B18 to get drilled for the bung, so we can just swap the oil pans over. And then we have our turbo feed, turbo drain. I just have to do the vacuum plumbing for the wastegate, blow-off valve, and boost gauge. Then I'm gonna leave the stock injector, stock fuel pump, stock map sensor, and stock spark plugs in the car so I can fire it up, bleed the coolant in our new Yonaka rad, take it around the block, make sure there's nothing majorly wrong, no major boost leaks, kind of start to roll into it, make sure that it actually does start to build boost. And once all the fluids are bled and everything's good, then I'll put in the fuel pump, injectors, map sensor, and colder spark plugs, call up Nabil Tune, and he'll remote tune this thing, and everything should be good. Don't worry, guys, in no time we'll be boosting. I don't know if this thing's gonna be done on Saturday and might roll over into Sunday. It's gonna be a fairly big job, but rest assured, it's gonna come out sick. Thanks for watching, boys. Comment, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.